call to order the Board of Education meeting for Monday, August 13th. If everyone would rise to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Let the record show we have all members here except for Ryan Osmus, and we need an adoption of the agenda, including the supplemental personnel report. And Pamela noticed on the minutes for the July meeting on page, was it 13?
Actually, that's the consent agenda. It's item 10 on the consent.
Yes,
consent
right.
agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, go ahead. Adoption of the agenda, including the supplemental personnel report. We have an updated personnel report in our folder.
I'd make the motion to adopt the agenda.
A second.
Motion by Jeff and a second by Tammy. All in favor? 6-0.
The change in the minutes was due to the wrong school year, 17, 18, and it
Yes.
should have been 18, 19.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, we'll make that noted.
And Deb has already corrected it
Okay,
and got, so
okay.
the one I sign will be.
All right, I wanted to make sure,
Correct.
I wanted to make sure that, thank you.
And approval of bills.
I did not do that. They usually remind me with a call. And I'm going to blame it on somebody else.
I
So,
didn't notice that. so.
Pardon?
I did not notice that.
Well, that's still my
We'll
responsibility.
make an effort to.
No, it's still my responsibility.
did, in essence, it's all of our responsibility to look over the bills.
I didn't see anything.
So I didn't see anything out of the ordinary.
Did anybody have questions? Okay, I make a motion for approval of the bills.
Okay. I'll second. Motion by Tammy and a second by Tracy. All in favor? 6-0. And we have a special presentation this evening. Kim Reimer received the 2018 Promise Award from the Kansas School Counseling Association. And the first experience I had with Kim in the classroom, my oldest was in 5th grade. And I was volunteering in the classroom, and she was the substitute teacher in that classroom. And I was just really impressed with how she helped the kids take ownership of the classroom. It really stuck with me that she really cared about her students, and she also expected them to be held to a high standard. And I know that she was an exceptional teacher and is also, I'm sure, an exceptional counselor. So congratulations, Kim. Okay, next up, we have the public hearing on the proposed budget. Mr. Hammond's already made his way to the podium.
Basically, on page 1 is the board consideration sheet for the public hearing. The budget has been prepared as per board directions. It has been published, and we have to have the public hearing prior to the time that we can approve the budget. Would note, as the board has directed us to do, there is no mill increase this year. It's published the same as it was last year. Each year, I always tell the board, I guarantee it will not end up this way because we don't get the final assessed valuation until October. It will go up, it will go down, but it should be very slight. So Anyway, if we give time for any public comment.
If anyone.
The only thing we can control is what we publish, and the valuation is determined at a later date for certification.
Right. We basically have to prepare our budget on what the county estimate is, which we have done. But again, the estimate will change, depend on final assessed valuations, which comes out later in the year. So I always tell people, because there's always that question, well, why didn't you know? Well, nobody knows at this point, so do the best we can.
And just a side note, but the publication is a requirement by law, and it's crucial that the numbers match. And I know of 2 instances that occurred this month of school districts that did not have the correct numbers. So therefore, they have to hold a hearing 10 days after it is published correctly, and so they weren't able to correspond it with their board meeting. So it just basically means an additional meeting and additional, and in one case, it was the newspaper's fault that it wasn't published correctly. In the other case, it was the school district that didn't put the right numbers in the right place and then noticed it too late. So anyway, that is a worthy step, and appreciated that it was correct.
Very good. If anybody would like to make a comment regarding the budget, you may approach the podium. I don't see anybody jumping up. Thank you. Okay, we will start Stuco reports at our September 10th meeting. Recognition of visitors. Persons may present ideas or concerns regarding USD 443 schools. No action will be taken by the board at this meeting. Personalities and behavior of employees are not to be presented during this period, but are to be reported to the employee's immediate supervisor. The president shall determine the amount of time to be spent for citizen participation. If anybody would like to address the board? No takers on that either. All right, next up we have the consent agenda, and that includes the approval of personnel with the supplemental personnel report, approval of minutes, the corrected approval of minutes, or the approval of corrected minutes for July 9th Board of Education meeting, approval of minutes for the August 8th Special Board of Education work session, approval of donation from Doris Sutton to Dodge City High School in memory of Virginia Pennington, approval of Kansas Preschool Program Grant Award for Bright Beginnings, and the Kansas Parents as Teachers Program Grant Award for Bright Beginnings, approval of Youth Mental Health First Aid Training Grant application for the high school, approval of additional fundraising requests for Dodge City Middle School, approval of second-year billable fiber lease agreement, acceptance of Safe and Secure Schools State Aid Grant Award, and to ratify Village Square Mall lease for the Dodge City Education Center.
Make a motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
I have a motion by Tracy and a second by Jeff. All in favor? 6-0. Okay, new business, curriculum and instruction, approval of the K-5 grade math manipulatives.
Good evening. The last couple of years, the elementary level teachers have been kind of, each building has been collecting more manipulatives as the curriculum, we saw holes in, hey, we need this to use here and we need this to use here. But each building purchased those based on their teacher needs. And so what we're doing with this purchase is we're trying to get all of our teachers across the district K-5 to have equitable manipulatives, so to make sure that everybody has what they need. Last year we started working on a list, and at first we were like, what do you need? What do you have? What do you, we kind of played back and forth. But Engage New York has manipulative kits through this Didax company that has all of the manipulatives, and there's different layers of it. There's a basic kit and an advanced kit. So we went through those kits to see what we really need, compare it to our curriculum, because some of the things in our state standards do not require the same pieces that the curriculum offers. For example, the fourth grade took out a lot of the measurement pieces that were in the original curriculum. Our standards no longer have that when they changed the standards. So we went through and matched those up. Kindergarten through third, and then fifth grade, those kids matched really well, and the teachers did request those resources. At fourth grade, again, because of like the measurement example, those did not match well, so we went in and found the specific manipulative items that they needed. So we had started this process last year, and then it was kind of reiterated again with the curriculum audit of the need to make sure that they have those same resources across the district so that they could make sure that their kids had those experiences. And we did check with CMS and DCMS, and they did not need any manipulatives at this time. So we are requesting the purchase of the math manipulatives for kindergarten through fifth grade.
Why do they call them manipulatives? I mean, what's
You manipulate and move them. It's so that they can like take blocks or take a clock or whatever and actually
so it's things they actually
move
touch and
something
move.
with it.
Gotcha.
I was going to say it was a life skill we're teaching our kids, but well, and then I just did. So
Okay, so, go ahead.
No, I was just going to
Make a motion. Go
make a
ahead.
motion to purchase these manipulatives.
Okay, a second.
Motion by Pamela and a second by Tammy. All in favor? 6-0.
thank you. The next item, we just wanted to kind of follow up with our new teacher institute. Usually we give you a heads up beforehand, but with the board meeting falling right after the new teacher institute, we'll just kind of give you an update. Several of you were there on Wednesday and were able to be introduced and maybe kind of meet a few of our new teachers. And so this year we're trying something a little bit different. Typically we do 3 full days up front. And although all the information that we have, we want to make sure that we kind of shove into our new teachers so that they're ready on that first day. But we also know that it's really overwhelming and you're only hearing this much. And so even though all this information is really important for them, they can only process so much at the very beginning of the school year. So this year what we did is at the elementary and middle school level, we did 3 half days just in the afternoon. And that was mainly to accommodate our summer school that ran in the morning, and then new teachers or coaches or mentor teachers could still do summer school and then be part of the new teacher piece in the afternoon. And then the remainder of those days will follow throughout the school year. So in the past, we did 3 days up front and then the equivalent of 1 day in the fall, just with after-school sessions. Several of our new teachers in the last couple of years have expressed that, yes, we love new teacher, we appreciate that time, but then we kind of feel like we're just left in the sense of they're not getting collectively together as a new teacher group. And again, even though we did follow-ups, it's still a lot of information up front. So this year we're spreading it out throughout the school year. We'll have follow-ups that run until April. And so middle school and elementary will have the exact same days. High school did theirs a little bit different. There are some things that they really just needed up front. So they did 2.5 days up front, and then we'll do the equivalent of 1.5 days throughout the school year. And so far the feedback has been very positive, and they were really appreciative of just some free time to be able to get into their rooms and put to use some of the things that were shared. So we'll continue to collect information from the new teachers to make sure that we have a program that suits them, but I wanted just to share information with you. Do you guys have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Tammy. All right, next up, we've got Matt, approval of coordinator salary for the Juvenile Services Reporting Center.
For as long as we've had the Juvenile Services Reporting Center, we've paid a portion of the coordinator's salary. And again, that's due right now for $20,000. And tonight I'm requesting approval for that $20,000 to be paid to Juvenile Services.
Okay.
I'd make a motion to approve the request for the coordinator's salary.
Pam had a question, I think.
No, I was going to make a motion
Okay.
for it, so
Okay. So would you like to second?
I will second that
Okay,
motion.
we've got a motion by Jeff and a second by Pamela. All in favor? 6-0.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. All right, Ray, the E-rate funding?
Good evening, board members, Mr. Superintendent. On page 79, we're bringing this item back to you for reapproval. The reason for that is the business office or the company chose, there's two ways we can do E-rate, for example. Let me start with that. One, we can pay our portion to the company, and then the company goes out and collects their portion, which in this case was $511,000. The company chose not to do that for whatever reason, so I took it to Mr. Hammond, and he thought, we decided that it's best that the company, between Mr. Hammond and I and the company, we're gonna pay everything up front, and then we'll collect the E-rate part. That's the difference between our last approval from the board. So what it amounts to is, last time I brought that we're gonna pay $189,000, and the company would collect the $511,430. This time, we're asking for you to approve $700,466.43, and we'll go to work and collect the E-rate on our part.
Okay.
Any questions on that? Mr.
Why did they
Hammond will
just-
be
I
happy
mean,
to answer.
Why did they change their method?
It's really very simple. E-rate's a unique government entity. Normally, if you have something approved, payment is not an issue at all. That there are times that, for whatever reason, E-rate's a little slow paying, and some companies just can't afford $500,000 outstanding on their books. I do not anticipate any issue. We have had issues where we've waited for E-rate's approval. They've already approved this one, so it shouldn't be any issue at all. But the company just didn't feel like they were in a financial position to do this. It was the lowest bid. We could have thrown the bid out and tried to rebid it, but we felt, given everything, it's just easier for us to write a check. We will get the money back from E-rate, and I think in due course. We did, and I'm going to mention to Molly, did recommend we take this out of contingency reserve and then remove it back to contingency reserve so it doesn't mess up Ray's budget, because if we paid it all out of Ray's budget, he couldn't buy anything else probably until this money got reimbursed. So it's just, companies, some of them just don't have deep enough pockets to do this. I understand why.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be a problem.
Good.
But we wanted to inform the board because when we get these things pulled for audit, well, you always said you're gonna write a check for $189,000. Suddenly you wrote a check for more. Folks, we do take those things seriously, and we wanna make sure the boards, we want a full transparency with the board, make sure that you understand exactly what we're
Yeah.
doing.
We appreciate that, Bill.
I make a motion for approval.
All right, we've got a motion by Tammy and a second by Jamie. All in favor? 6-0.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ray. All right, and we have our new, okay, our new public information officer.
We do.
Office.
My pleasure to introduce Carrie Baker. I think most of you have had a chance to meet her if you didn't already know her. I'm very excited about the experience and the background that she brings to this position. We've visited on several occasions, most recently this afternoon, about the role and the transition that I believe she is going to be able to bring to our district. And instead of being a gatekeeper, I think we're going to be a community connector. And I think that's really the value that I believe we're going to find in this, and serve a positive purpose for all the right reasons. And I'm very excited to have Carrie to be part of our team. And I know she's going to be a benefit to the district. So I wanted the board to meet her, and I thought this would be a great opportunity for her to see how the operation works, so that when she goes to the mic and meeting or two, she won't be afraid. So, and I'm sure she won't. She's been behind the mic most of her career. So anything
Welcome.
you'd like to say, Carrie? Or
I'm looking forward to the opportunity.
Great,
Okay, thank you.
Welcome to the district.
Hey.
very much so.
Okay, next up, Dr. Nance.
Good evening, Madam President and board members, Dr. Dirksen. The first thing that I wanted to present tonight is a 2018-2019 staffing update. And I sent information in your board packets, but it has changed since then. It's been kind of a hectic couple of weeks getting things in place, but I think we're finally there. We have all of our teaching positions filled.
Yay.
We have one instructional coach position that has not been filled yet, but we're meeting tomorrow to talk about a possible candidate for that. So there's a possibility that that will come very soon. Out of all of our open positions, I think I gave you an update of how many new positions we added this year. It was quite substantial. We had, just since I've been here the last couple of years, the most excellent recruiting season, and I think we'll be very pleased with the teachers' performance in the classroom. We did start the year, we will start the year Wednesday with 16 long-term subs. Of those long-term subs, one is a retiree coming back to work as sub status. 5 of those long-term subs are in programs to become teachers. They're just not at the point yet where we can call them teachers. We have 3 on that long-term sub list that are down to passing exams and getting it put on their license. So I'm expecting and feel very hopeful that those 3 will have that done before the end of the fall semester. We have 4 fall-only subs that still fall under that long-term sub category because they're holding classes for, they're starting the classes out for student teachers. And those student teachers will then take over that class at the semester point. We have 3 long-term subs that are in a unusual, or I should say maybe a progressive licensure track where they're working long-term subs for us in the fall, or interns, because one is actually working as a para, and then they will become licensed in the spring. So what you see in the first fall licensed personnel report or the vacancy report that is now coming out and due September 1st will show a higher number of long-term subs and is actually reflective of what's happening in the district. So just wanted to make you aware of that. Are there any questions on the staffing as it stands at this moment?
I just think the district's done a great job, and I applaud your office and the administrators.
Well, our administrators are key in making this happen because they do the interviews, they make the selections, they have done just an outstanding job. I did want to share with you that I believe we've already hired 2 teachers for 1920. So, so much for resting in between. We're fortunate enough to have a husband-wife math science team express interest in our district and a couple other surrounding districts. And I got the call last week that it looks like they're coming to Dodge City. So I'll start working with Jackie Feist on getting some of that paperwork done, and we'll get them signed up as soon as possible.
Just out of curiosity, do you keep any statistics that show how many of 443 students come back to this district to teach?
I don't have the statistics on that. I would say that we do a pretty good job of bringing our own students back as teachers. And in fact, those of you that were at the opening ceremonies this morning, you'll notice Dr. Dirksen asked the 443 paras to stay and visit. And we had a large number of those paras express interest in moving on to become teachers, and that was the purpose of that meeting, to kind of get them some information on how they would pursue that dream. And I was really pleasantly surprised in the number that came forward and said, yes, please give me more information. So the Grow Your Own is a very positive strategy for us.
I thought we were having a revival. She asked them to come forward, and there was a...
I know, I didn't pass the hat. Okay, any other questions?
Why didn't you pass?
I passed out flyers.
Okay. No.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. The next thing that I wanted to bring to your attention this evening is an ask for ratification of the 2018-2019 negotiated agreement with Dodge City NEA. I'll have to say that this process, we go through an interest-based bargaining system in negotiating with the teachers in the district, and it's a little different than I've experienced in any other district, and I'll have to say that it's been just really very collegial, and we've worked together as a team for the best of students and employees and district ultimately. Just an outstanding effort this year on both sides, I felt. The big things that were to be on the table for negotiation I'll start with ESOL incentives. That's something that we've brought to you before, and we put forth this concept of what we want to do with the ESOL endorsement incentives. And so that became part of the negotiated agreement. So that was something new that was added, and I put that language in. Paul Stoda and I sat and put that into the draft of the agreement that you received. Secondly, there was a change in health insurance premiums that you have approved previously, and so we included that information in the agreement as well, because the agreement says that that amount, $7,869, will be provided either in health insurance or set aside through the forfeitures for each certified staff member. So that number does appear in the agreement. So we entered the new number. And that was part of the draft of the agreement. Probably the biggest thing every year is the salaries. That's something all teachers are interested in this year. It was quite different because, as we've talked many times, we felt the district needed to go to a more consistent and equitable salary schedule because our current one that we had used for a number of years have just kind of gotten out of control. And there were instances where people might have the same education and the same years of experience but not be making the same amount of money. So I'll have to give credit to DCNA, NEA, and their group for Paul Stoda started with putting together a spreadsheet where we could take this massive salary chart and condense it down into one page. And then he had help from some team members carrying that on and back and forth with Bill Hammond and myself on how this all, would kind of work. And they actually came up with a one-page salary schedule that either everyone moved forward some amount. We did not punish anyone that might have been an outlier. There were 2 people, I believe, that didn't move forward at all, but they're kind of already over a level. Everyone else made a forward step, some small, some large. But we finally got everyone on a one-page schedule. And that was put into the agreement. And that total agreement passed the vote of the teachers, 255 yes votes and 3 no votes. So it was very overwhelming. The teachers have been asking for this for quite some time, and it was impressive that this team was able to make that happen. One note that I want to make is that it takes a lot of money to make that happen. If you've got people making different amounts of money and you want to make it right for everyone, you're going to bring those from the bottom up. So that's what we did, and it takes dollars to do that. So not only did we take the 3% money that we would have given in raises and put that in the schedule, we also took the money that will be saved from the health insurance benefits for certified staff only and took that amount of money and applied it to, so we could have enough money to bring everyone up where they needed to be on that schedule. And I think it's important to say that we only used the certified health benefit savings for this. We did not use classified and we did not use administrator.
Okay. Very good.
So today I'm asking if you have any questions on anything that you may have read in the draft of the agreement.
I just say this was kind of a monumental negotiation, and I applaud Paul, your group, and the district for, coming together on this and getting the kind of vote you did. That's, I know, it's just a good feeling to know we equalized that pay schedule, and I would have never dreamed it would have gone as smoothly as it did, and I'm very gratified. And I think it speaks to our future very well of the district. So thank you all for the work and the common sense and the looking out for the betterment of the district and its people. I think it's just, I don't take this lightly because I know how touchy these negotiations can be. So thank you very much.
Any other questions? If there are no other questions, then I would ask that you ratify the 2018-2019 negotiated agreement with Dodge City NEA.
Make a motion. Okay.
I'll second.
Motion by Tracy and a second by Tammy. All in favor? 6-0.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone, for your work on that.
Yes.
Thank you. Following along those lines, typically what we do with raises in this district, whatever has been granted to certified staff and approved through the board, we generally try to make that equal with other groups. So the next thing that I'm going to ask for is that we also give a 3% increase in money to the classified salary schedule. And I gave you an attachment that will show what those amounts look like. And I also made a note that we are also saving money on the classified health insurance premiums. And there have been some discussions on different things that we can do with classified folks with those savings. And although we don't have a plan to present to you tonight, we do have the goal of sitting down over the next couple of months and starting to talk about what that would look like. Now that we kind of know what we're saving on health insurance, there will be an opportunity to look at some new incentives for classified staff. But for tonight, what I'm asking is approval for the increase to the 2018-2019 classified salary schedule.
I would make that motion.
Second. Motion by Jeff, second by Tracy. All in favor? 6-0.
And carrying that on a little bit further, there's another group of employees. We have the administrative staff. We also have a group that we kind of lump in with administrators, but they're called classified exempt salaries. And these are people working sort of at that, sometimes at that mid-level where they're not hourly, so they don't fall under the classified schedule. They're not certified, so they're not on that schedule. It's people like my benefits coordinator, Marcia Gutierrez, that is on salary. She's exempt from overtime. Another person is our payroll person. There's just this group of people in there that don't fit into the two that we just talked about. So they are put in with administrators and brought forth to you with administrators. And at this time, I'm asking that we take the same 3% that we awarded classified and certified and give that same amount to administrators and classified exempt. Are there any questions on that?
I did have a question on the worksheet, and maybe
Okay.
it's that I just wasn't aware or didn't remember. Has there always been a longevity pay on the worksheet?
There has been, as far as I know, but you know my histories of,
Yeah.
kind of short in the district. Someone else may. Bill, are you?
As long as I've been here, there has been a longevity pay, yes.
And again, because we're saving some money on this group's health insurance benefits as well, there's some work that needs to be done to kind of even out the way some of these salaries are calculated, or perhaps maybe to give incentives for increasing education to the classified exempt, which we haven't done in the past, or to give incentives or reward for years of experience for administrators, which we haven't done in the past. And I don't really know for sure how those discussions will come out, but there's a little pool of money from the savings of the administrators' health insurance that we could have those discussions between the administrators and the classified exempt on maybe how to do some things there. And that will be something that would come over the next several months. So if there aren't any more questions at this time, I would ask for your approval of the 3% raise to administrators and classified exempt.
I make a motion for approval.
Second it.
We have a motion by Tammy and a second by Jamie.
That's right.
All in favor? 6-0.
Thank you very much. I know all the employees really appreciate how supportive the board is and the kind of support that you give through your approval of these raises. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And as Bill makes his way up, I'd just like to say how much I appreciate that we're in a position financially where we can recognize our employees like this. Thank you.
And if you approve the budget, maybe we can do it again next year. So if you don't approve the budget, I'm not sure how we're going to pay all this, but anyway. The budget has been published. The budget was prepared with the raises as the board kind of directed us to do. We have added a number of staff this last year, as you're aware, with the additional 300 and 50,000 square feet of space. We've added a number of custodians, maintenance personnel. We've also added additional teachers that are in this budget. We've added 4 more kindergarten teachers. We've added some teachers at the high school level. So there are a lot of increases in this budget, but we find ourselves really in fairly strong financial situation, so we're grateful for that. We did have a public hearing this evening, so all the legal requirements have been done for the budget. We would request, I might mention that basically we are keeping the mill levy the same. This does include the...
You say basically.
Well, I'm saying basically because we know, I think I said earlier, we know that the assessed valuation will go up or down a little bit. So no, it's not that I'm raising a mill.
Okay, I just want to make sure we didn't basically keep it the same.
I've got to start giving the definition of this. I'm going to be really... No. In fact, you'll notice on your worksheet here, or the board sheet, that it has moved up and down just a little bit, but again, that is just, it's not that we haven't tried to publish correctly or anything, it's just, I can't control what the assessed valuation is going to be. So, I do have copies of the budget. If anybody is wanting some light reading to go to bed by, I'd be happy to give you a copy. We do keep copies of this in the office. If anybody comes in, we just give it to them. We don't try to charge them or anything. Also, by state law now, anytime we have a board meeting, we're supposed to have a copy of the budget. So I don't know if you ever noticed, but when we have meetings, we normally keep a copy under here, keep a copy in the office, and we also, I have a green bag. Dr. Dirksen has a red bag that we also carry one too. So if we have board meetings beyond this point, we try to always meet the statute requirement on that. So just an aside. Are there any questions about the budget or what we've done?
Yeah, on the, down on the footnote, you had the 33% LOB, and was it at 30 last year?
It was at 30, and if you remember, we published the 33% this year. And we were able, because of that, we will bring in more money for the district this year because the LOB pays a better return than, for example, capital outlay. We were able this year to do both, full capital outlay and 33% LOB. I don't think that'll probably be the same next year. Next year's going to be a little tighter the way it looks and the way everything works out. LOB is a weird budget because you have to continue what you had left over the year before, and it goes into the calculation, so it kind of tends to go up and down. But our goal has been to keep the overall budget at the same total mill levy. So yes, it is 33% LOB this year.
Anybody have any other questions? Comments?
Make a motion to approve the budget.
A second.
We have a motion by Pamela and a second by Tammy. All in favor? 6-0.
The next item, I'm going to try to make sure I don't miss anything. The next item on the agenda this evening is we did capital outlay meetings, and one thing that Dodge City Middle School has requested, I think this may have been the second year even, was new music cabinets, but they definitely put it on the list this year. And we were pretty tight on capital outlay this year. We had really kind of limited what we did. So the capital outlay committee basically said no. But subsequent to the meeting with the capital outlay committee, we actually had the shelves have some problems. Some music instruments dropped off the shelves. So administratively, we felt like it was a safety issue. We had Chris go take a look at it. He felt like he could repair it, but it was just basically going to be a cobbled situation. And we felt for the safety of our students that we needed to replace that. So we did notify the Capital Outlay Committee of that decision. This evening before you, we basically took bids for storage cabinets. I am going to mention, and again, being very transparent with the board, Melhart Music Center did have the low bid, except they didn't put it on our bid forms. And we require all bids to be on our bid forms because then we know exactly what they're bidding. And there's no question, you don't get into a discussion after the fact. We also, from looking at the bid, we weren't quite sure it really met the standards and specifications that we sent out. And that's one thing, by putting it on the bid forms, they actually do verify that to us, that they have to do it. So the recommendation of administration is that we would recommend the purchase of Winger Corporation, basically new music storage cabinets for Dodge City Middle School. I would mention that the Winger Corporation has been doing cabinets and a lot of things related to music for a number of years, platforms, risers, etc. Had very good luck with them on anything we've purchased. and bluntly, kind of lasts forever. So we feel like this is not just there's a reason to really look for that kind of quality. And they were kind of the standard of the bid because of their reputation. So any questions on all that?
Did we try to go local on any of these, like with kitchens or anything?
I don't know if we went with kitchens on this kind of thing. It's kind of a specialty item that you're ordering, and these are actually pretty well set up. So we've sent them out. We didn't really have anything.
I mean, they do custom. I mean, they do
Right.
a lot of work for
Right.
that kind of money. Just
Right.
if there's any way to let them bid next time or whatever,
Okay.
I think we need to try.
And I might mention
'Cause they'll
kitchens
bid
did.
it
Yeah.
to spec. I mean,
Right.
they'll go in and do all the custom cabinetry you want. Like I said, I don't know if they'll come in, but at
Yeah.
least give them the opportunity.
And we might mention kitchens did do a lot of the cabinets on our new construction across the bond issues. So
Yep.
it's in no way we tried to eliminate it.
I'll make a motion to go ahead and purchase this.
I'll second.
Motion by Pamela and a second by Tracy. All in favor? 6-0.
Thank you all. The next item is that we have very nice gym floors in both Dodge City Middle School and Comanche Middle School. And one of the things we've looked at for several years, and this was actually, we basically wanted floor coverings, and the Board of Education has previously approved this, but we finally got the bids back, and we're recommending that the purchase of floor covers for Dodge City Middle School and Comanche Middle School from the locker room in the amount of $52,071 to be paid from the capital outlay and authorize the board clerk to issue the purchase order. And I think there we did get a bid from a local company, but unfortunately they weren't the lowest on that.
Now, is this what covers the wood floors?
Yes.
Yeah.
We had a used one from someplace that we're using in one of the, and it kind of proved to be unsatisfactory, and also it had enough problems, and we felt like it was kind of dangerous just to take it out because somebody was going to trip on it. So that was, I think, as I remember the whole discussion on that.
Make a motion.
I'll second it.
By Tracy and a second by Jamie. All in favor? 6-0.
Okay. Central Elementary, there are several things here that have been changes to the construction. We're asking for these change orders to be approved. We basically normally put just chain link fences around all playgrounds. However, those of you who are at Central Elementary, remember there is a house just immediately south of our playground. And in consultation with the neighbor, they would really like us to put a wood fence there. We felt in order to be a good neighbor, that just made good sense. And so that was an increase in cost to the cedar fence from the chain link fence. There was also a point, and I'm trying to be politically correct in how you say this, we do have children in our schools who have difficulties controlling their bodily functions, and from time to time we do need the ability to do laundry, and so we did add a shower and laundry to the program at Central Elementary. And we also, when we were installing the parking lot, you're aware that there's a geo field underneath where the parking lot is, and as we got into that project, we determined that it was just a little lower in the parking lot close to the geo field, and we didn't want to have any problems. So the engineers came back and recommended we raise that, which we did. We had additional dirt and so forth brought in. You can't really tell it at this point, but we actually raised it a given amount to get the right coverage on that. So the total amount of that is $29,634, and that amount is available from the owner's reserve.
I'll make a motion for approval for change order.
I'll second it.
All right. Motion by Tammy, second by Pamela. All in favor? 6-0.
Bill, just a quick question. The geothermal well, I mean, is that still working
Oh, yes.
like we planned and years ago when we put it in?
Really just no problems with it at all. Yeah. Geothermal's, it's a good system, just expensive. Would have liked to have gone farther with it, but the cost just wasn't the money.
Right, okay.
If you remember, we got some grants to help with that one and
Right.
made a huge difference.
I just hadn't heard anything. I assumed that was well.
Yes, if there was a
No news is
problem,
good news.
you would know about it. No problem. The next item on the list today is Basically, Dodge City High School's gone well enough that Hutton Construction felt that they could reduce their contract by $100,000, so it's a contingency on that school that'll be reduced and available for other projects. That doesn't mean we still have money for the paint booth, which is coming, so that's fine. We have enough money for everything else at the high school, but we're far enough along in the project. It's basically the release of $100,000 that we can use and finish up other projects if we need to.
I'll move that we release the funds.
Okay. Motion by Jamie, or motion by Pamela, second by Jamie, all in favor, 6-0. Bill, do you anticipate that we will see that from some of the other schools too?
We will have some. We have already released some from some of the other schools. We will have some money left. We also have some resources. When we did this project, we had a goodly tidy sum in the bank, and we really didn't budget early on the interest. I think we've taken money out for 2 different projects, and so there will also be some money in the interest account at the end of the project. So we'll see. There are still some things that we may want to do, or I should say maybe the board would like to direct us to do, and we're going to be looking at those, but we wanted to get through everything first. We didn't want to come in and raise everybody's hope we're also going to be able to do, and then find out, oops, we have something else we have to take care of. So we're kind of looking through that, yes.
Okay.
At this point, it appears everything we're planning to do is paid for, will be paid for, which is kind of nice at this point in the project. Dodge City Middle School, 2 things happened. There was a lack of casework in the computer lab D212. I think that has been installed at this point. Has it been put in, the computer lab, the casework? I know it's been ordered, but I don't know if it's been put in. Anyway, there was a lab that, for whatever reason, it didn't have casework in it. We put casework in that. And we also, the flooring that somehow got through us on the original bid was not the type of flooring that we've used at the high school and also at Comanche Middle School. And there's kind of a sense that we need to do the same for all schools. We've had good luck with it, so we went ahead and upgraded the flooring to that. So we'll have top quality floor in that. So those changes are $43,797.
I'll make that motion to the change orders at the middle school.
A second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Tammy, all in favor, 6-0.
Let's see. I've got missing one here. Okay. The next item, and I almost wish Jay was here to explain this one. It is a consultant agreement with Superfan Incorporated for a fan rewards program at Dodge City High School. And they've done their homework on this. They feel like this is a good investment that will engage students and our community. So we think it's worthwhile, and that's why it's before you this evening.
Is there anyone here that could explain it just a little more?
I can't give you enough background on it too. I got tied up with some other things today. I can give you a shot at it, but it would be, I would rather not.
Can this be tabled till, or does everybody understand it except me?
Well, as I understand it, it's to engage fans and get them to the games and to the events, get them more interactive with, that's how I understand it.
In a positive way. And I know that's an effort that Mr. Gifford is always working at and tries it in many different concepts. And when we were hiring a public information officer, he wanted a sports information director because he's trying to go this route in many ways.
Other duties as a son.
We have a new perspective,
fine
but,
print. That's the
yeah,
fine
we have a new
print.
perspective, but her initials are
Get that
not
demon
sports
gear.
information director.
Other duties as assigned.
I might mention that one thing we did talk about was the consultant fee, and even though it's in the agreement, Jay feels like we have adequate personnel and expertise. We will not be using the consultant that's referenced in this. It is referenced in agreements because it's kind of their standard package, but we will not, there's not more money coming down the pike. This is pretty well what it is.
So this says it's out of the advertising monies generated from the
Yes.
app?
Yes.
Who is doing the legwork for that? Is the company do that? Or is that going to be the high school that does that legwork?
I'm not sure I can answer that one.
I believe we'll be doing the legwork.
And is it potential to make profit? Okay. So we would only raise enough to pay for it, or we could gather additional funds through?
So it just tries to encourage students to come to the games, is that correct? Or is that oversimplified?
It's out to alumni that we have throughout the state or the nation for some nights, and depending on games, we have an international connection with our facilities.
So you can, I'm sorry, you can show the game?
Depending on what venue we're using, we could physically see as well. But this particular piece is just to engage them and inform them about the events.
So this 3,500 a year would be just to inform the students?
And community and, yeah, public involvement.
Several years ago, Jackie, we sought to engage the alumni. And I think this is just another step and another way to communicate with alumni around the country and around the world. And usually, I mean, I think it'll pay for itself in donations, you know, to the Booster Club, because it is just a way to communicate. You know, that's basically what it is.
It says fan rewards, so what do the fans get?
Good question.
Like a
I will go to the
Pokemon Go?
donors to find out.
Pokemon.
I've been
They'll
reading
probably
the agreement.
donate something and then they'd win it, is what I'm assuming.
Pardon?
Yeah.
You probably get like season passes to a football game or something like that.
Free car from Louisville.
Yeah, free car. I mean, why not?
Oh, we have an offer for a free car?
Yeah, sign me up. Didn't say what kind of car, Yeah.
Yeah, based on the wording that they're going to raise the money through advertising to pay for it, and it's not coming out of any particular existing budget, I would make a motion to approve.
I second.
All right, we've got a motion by Tracy and a second by Tammy. All in favor?
Oh, I was going to,
And I do apologize to Jay. At one time, I think I could have explained that, but this has been about a month since it came across my desk, so please give my apology to Jay, if you would, Jackie, for not.
Pamela, did you have?
We had to clear up some of our misgivings.
that is correct. The money comes, the 3,500 does not come out of a 443 budget, it
No.
just comes, okay.
Next time on page 213, basically, we have a new gymnasium at Dodge City Middle School, and obviously that means we need a new scoreboard. And we're recommending basically the scoreboard that's available through Greenbush Cooperative Purchasing, and would request that the Board of Education is respectfully requested to ratify the purchase of scoreboards for the new gymnasium at Dodge City Middle School from Athro LLC as part of the Greenbush Cooperative Purchasing Agreement in the amount of $11,678 to be paid from the architect's equipment budget. The board is further respectfully requested to authorize the clerk of the board to issue a purchase order and sign the proposed, subject to review by board council.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Tracy, second by Tammy. All in favor? 6-0.
Keep score.
Oh, I got one more.
I'd keep
Someday I'm going to finish these earlier, but I swear. We are in much better shape with the Dodge City Middle School than we were when we turned Comanche, because Dodge City was already a middle school and had quite a bit of weight room equipment that basically we're going to reuse in the new weight room. But in order to get the thing completely up to par, and they've worked with Coach Foster and the high school folks, plus their own coaches, there was a need for some additional things. This particular company does have a contract, a state contract, and so that's basically what we're buying it off of. It's kind of difficult. There's weight room equipment, and there's weight room equipment. You can spend a lot of money or little, but if you can get something that's been pre-bid by the state, it just makes it a lot simpler. So really, it's quite a bit less than what it was the time before. The time before, we actually brought some equipment from the high school down, then replaced the equipment at the high school, as you remember. So we think this will bring parity to the programs and do what they need to do. So the Board of Education is respectfully requested to approve the state contract bid for advanced exercise for the additional weight room equipment needed for Dodge City Middle School in the amount of $19,860.71 to be paid from the architecture's equipment budget. The board is further respectfully requested to authorize the clerk of the board to issue a purchase order and sign the quote subject to review by board council.
So, Bill, this would make the weight rooms at both middle schools equitable.
Yes. That's what they're telling me, absolutely, yes.
Who uses the weight rooms? I mean, they're open to any student in the middle schools at any time, or?
We have some middle school people here. I think I'd rather let the middle school people.
Basically what that is, it's mainly 8th graders that use it, but they have 0 weight hours in the morning, so 6th, 7th, and 8th graders utilize it. And then also the sports teams utilize it as well.
So any young lady, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, or gentleman, can come in at 0 hour? And then 8th graders use class, okay.
Make a motion, we approve the equipment for the weight room.
Motion by Jeff, second by Jamie. All in favor? 6-0.
Seems like there's one more. Is that it?
Nope,
Nope.
229.
Make a motion to not accept the current bid.
Sorry about that.
Second.
Motion by Tracy and a second by Tammy. All in favor?
Okay.
6-0.
Next one is Victory Electric.
Oh, Victory Electric, we have followed, during the construction process, if you noticed as you went to some of the schools, we used to have a number of overhead wires going to a lot of our school buildings. I think we've almost completely eliminated that. And of course, we got to pay for that privilege. We also made the changes in Dodge City Middle School, Sewell and Northwest Elementary, where we're going to real-time pricing like we did the high school, which made some additional cost on that, but we should receive that money back over the next number of years in energy savings because we're going to start buying energy cheaper at night. We're going to freeze ice at night and then use that to cool both the expanded area at Sewell and a good hunk of Dodge City Middle School. So there is quite a bit of money there, but we think it's going to come out and be in our advantage to do that. And I really do think the work, Josh, who no longer works with Victory, was with us all the way through this project. And if you look at the schools, if you could have seen the schools with all the wires and everything and poles coming in, and that just out of the way, it's underground now, I think you'd really appreciate what's been accomplished there.
Make a motion to pay the Victory Electric invoices.
Okay.
And I'll second it.
Okay. Motion by Jeff, second by Pamela. All in favor? 6-0.
Okay. Let's see. Finally, I think this is the last one, I hope at least. I'm sorry for taking time. I'm trying to move along, but still answering all the questions.
All business.
As the board is aware, the school district does have some property at the Beeson Elementary School site. We are wanting to use that property. The city has been seeking additional places for soccer playfields. And basically, we have contacted the cities. We've been working with them on some other items too. And basically, there's a memorandum of understanding. It does not commit the school district long-term. They're not going to really do much with the fields other than put soccer nets up, but it will give them 4 more soccer fields to practice on. We think that's better than just having the land sit there not being utilized at this point. It's good for kids, so we want to be a good partner. And the city's not going to really schedule the fields. It's going to be more on a first-come, first-served basis. But again, we think it's a good decision.
I have some concerns, and that's, some of that I base that on prior experience at the police department and complaints that come from these unsupervised or unmanaged fields. And that's my neighborhood. I'm excited that something like that could come to South Dodge, but if you were to quantify the complaints that happen, as far as, especially Beeson itself, the parking, trash control, there's no restroom facilities. It was a huge problem up at St. Mary's. Before they were able to get that under control, people would just go in someone's backyard and go to the bathroom. Out there it is open field. There's not like any place that anybody that's out there having practice or doing games can go. There's no lighting supervision. That roadway is narrow. they obviously can't park along the road, and Beeson does have limited parking, and right now, their lot hasn't been repaired, so any heavy use, where that field is, there's not really good parking, and I don't really anticipate people would park in the normal parking and walk all the way across. They're gonna park in the fields and tear things up. So just the complaints I've observed from play fields like that, that's a huge concern. And the fact I live down there and know how hard it is to maintain that sandy area in that part of Dodge, that's a big sticker field. I couldn't imagine we would put our kids on that type of play field and let alone open that up to the public. Perception's gonna be that we maintain that field, and if it's full of stickers and you put kids out there to play soccer, they're gonna be covered in stickers. The balls are gonna be covered in stickers, and I don't know that it's really investment to try to treat that large of an area. So while it would be great to have that available in the area, that's just a concern. Perception is huge, and the public's gonna expect that we maintain it and we take care of it. And I just, from past experience, know that it has potential to be a lot more than what this agreement appears
Okay.
to be.
I think those are very valid concerns, and if the board would, the board could reject this, the board could send us back and ask for further negotiations and only make it available on a supervised basis. There's several options, or we could just say no. I mean, folks, we work for you all. We just.
I do want to share, though, that the city did come to us, the Parks and Recreation, and they're begging for more space, and they're limited in the availability that they have. And they actually did Google Maps, and they tried several strategies, and they've talked to Bill and I on numerous occasions. And so this request has came from the city, and there are some problems that need to be looked at and I'm sure delineated, but I believe the request came out of need. I can only share from past experience within the last 2 weeks. I had friends here during the rodeo week, and you can't, that's how I earned my marshal badge, by the way. And you cannot believe how many fields were in use everywhere you went. And so I understand your concern. I don't think that we have an easy solution for that at this point. But I know that the city's looking for some answers because they're having a lot of pressure for more fields as well. So it's a catch-22.
Would the city be willing to do some fencing of, maybe not fencing, but roping off for parking, or some porta potties, or something that we could go back?
Sure they would.
We can sure ask the city, if the board would give us a direction of what you'd like to have in concerns, we can sure go back and ask how they might address those concerns.
Because I agree with Dr. Dirksen. I know, sitting on the Parks and Recreation Board, that they are very in need of fields to play.
Yeah.
But I think if we could.
Well, I really appreciate Tracy's insight, because when I saw the consideration sheet, I thought, well, that's a great idea. But she had spoken to me earlier about her concerns, and I think they're valid concerns. So maybe if we go back to the city and say we're interested, but we need to have these things addressed.
See how we can address the issues.
And you could accomplish that by basically tabling a motion tonight. We could go talk to the city, then bring it back and see if there's ways, and maybe you can give us some direction on that, because you've been on the front
Stickers,
line.
That's a big.
Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't let my grandchild go out in that field and play, just because if you walk it, it's pretty rough. But the other things I think could be negotiable. I don't know that our maintenance crew has enough time to go out and take care of the daily task that would need to be done based on past observations.
Our maintenance crew's working very hard at this point. We're still installing irrigation in a number of buildings. And the landscaping group came up, and as Chris said, they had 20 people, and I got 3. They're getting ahead of me. It's not fair, but we're doing the best we can. So that's a very real thing. But again, we could ask the city, we could ask if they have the ability to, what they could do to the field, make it more usable. And because we questioned that same thing, Tracy, and I think they're just so desperate for play fields. If it looks flat, not if it is flat, but if it kind of looks flat, they're wanting to put a soccer net on it and use it. I mean, and I'm not saying that negatively. It's just that the demand has just outweighed their ability maybe to respond. And again, I'm not trying to be negative with the city. I think they're trying to do the best they can, but we could sure go have the discussions. If that's the will of the board, we can sit down and maybe between us put our heads together and try to come up with something, some of these concerns that you've got, because I think they're very valid concerns.
So if we're in agreement, we need to table that item
I agree.
for further discussion or further work on.
Could we direct Bill to, and maybe Tracy could meet with him? Can we ask the expert?
I see a committee and I sign it.
The expert.
You're not being voluntold, if that's something you would be willing to do.
Absolutely. I
Okay.
can type up my concerns.
Okay.
There you go.
I appreciate it,
Yeah.
and we shared some of those too, and again, I think it's just a situation, so
Okay.
we'll approach it the way the board wants us to.
Okay.
You probably do need to take an action to table this, so there's not a question in the minutes, and when the minutes are audited, they'll understand what you did, so.
I'll make a motion to table this until further clarification can be made.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Tracy and a second by Tammy to table this item until we have further information or further work on it. All in favor? 6-0.
Thank you all so much for all your patience this evening.
Thanks, Bill.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Bill.
Dr. Dirksen?
Okay, I just wanted to touch on a few topics, and a great way to get the school year started. Actually start out very pragmatically and tell you that our new facilities are being used at this very moment with football practice not being able to perform in inclement weather. They're actually using the indoor facilities, so that's a payoff very quickly there, and I think that's fantastic. I also wanted to let you know how successful I believe the construction open house was. We did have great turnout, and I made it to all of the sites, actually. Some of the ones that had already been completed last year, we maybe should have rethought that. I don't think Lynn and Beeson had the traffic that I would have liked for them to have. But all of them had some people come, and the high school, I think, was busy before it started, and they were busy all the way up to the end, as was the middle school. And I know Central and Miller had great turnouts, as well as Sewell and Northwest. So it was just amazing. And the comments that I heard just in walking, and I heard comments from other administrators as they attended as well, I thought it was fantastic. And I most appreciated the people that said, thanks for having this, and I can't believe what's been done. And I just heard real gratifying comments. And that's credit to the board, and wanted to share that with you. So all in all, I feel like the construction open house was very successful, and I'm grateful for the effort the administrators put in, extra time. That was a quote I used today that was actually said to my face, what knucklehead thought we could work on Sunday? I'm smarter than I look, but I do hear those things. But I appreciate it greatly, everything that did go on. So also, just been a busy time. Actually started last Wednesday with our work session. And Bill and I have done some work on that, and we did hear very loud and clear, talking about the timetable with TEC and that sort of thing. We're looking at some temporary options, because we will have more options as we have the administration building completed once it starts, hopefully in 18 months. That's kind of the time schedule. And we're looking at a number of things. So I want you to know that was heard, and we are working on that. Another thing we're working on, as soon as next Monday, we intend to have a meeting on safety and security, and sit down with assistant principal at the high school, Mr. Lampy, and I've kind of earmarked him for a defined role to start developing what we're going to do and to see what it becomes. And I mean what I say when I tell you that we need a newfound emphasis on this safety and security. And the state came out in kind of a surprising manner this summer, and they changed the fire drills to more safety drills than fire drills. And that literally came out of left field. Nobody saw that coming. There wasn't a lot of prep for that. And I think it's a good deal. I just think there's a lot of prep that needs to go with that, and we're trying to be leaders in that area and work on that. Dr. Springston is working on our curriculum process, and he's actually reaching out to other districts our size connecting that's the first step that I was hoping to have, was a well-defined process on how we go with our curriculum selection and adoption in the future. That work is already underway, and he'll be sharing reports with you soon, as well as we're working on the framework for our strategic action plan, kind of a 5-year plan that we want to put together for the district, and it's all encompassing. You got the budget report tonight, and we are in good standing budget-wise right now. But we want to be transparent about that, and we want to keep that on the forefront because that really drives the bus in everything that we do, and we've got to stay on top of that. And then Tammy's been working very hard on the KISA process, which is required by the state. And interestingly enough, it ties into our curriculum and it ties into our strategic action plan, and everything has a purpose. And so there's a connection there that helps me when I say we're going to simplify things and we're going to focus on things. I'm very pleased with that. And one issue I've been looking at intently is transfer requests at the middle schools. And I hope by the next board meeting to have kind of a 5-year data sheet for you to look at on the transfers. We're digging back on all the transfers that we've had over the last 5 years to see if the match makes sense. In my mind's eye, when you pull in the driveway between Northwest and Sewell, and one school gets to go to the middle school and the other school doesn't, that makes it difficult on parents that are coming in there, and then they got to track around to go to the other school. And that seems to be where most of the requests are coming from, but I don't know that for a fact. Until I give you the data, I can't say that. But just going by, I do try to look at the letters when I sign them, and going by what I sign, that's kind of what I see. And so I want to share those numbers with you as we look at realigning that, if that possibility needs to be made. I think that we need to talk about several things if we get to that issue, because there will be the transition period, and then there will be, is it an absolute? I like for families to be happy with where they're going to school or where their children are going to school. And for whatever reason, it worked out right down the middle last year. However many transferred to DCMS also transferred to Comanche. So I told my son I'd be out of here in an hour, and I guess he took me for heart there, so we're going to have to hurry. But anyway, so those are numbers that we were looking at. And the other thing that I might put my glasses on to make sure that I cover it all. I'm just at feeder schools, busy and happy with our direction. I think things are going very well. I get a lot of positive feedback from a lot of our new staff. I'm real excited to see that youth and experience and the enthusiasm that combines with all of them. So I feel like it went very well today, and I think we're about ready to wrap up.
Very good. Thank you. All right, Board of Education member district responsibilities, Park and Rec Advisory Board. Jamie, have you been to a meeting?
Yes, I went to a meeting and not much to report besides they really want to know lily pad for her. That's what we talked about a lot this last time, so not much to report.
Okay. Bright Beginnings, Head Start. Let's see. AC, we don't have Ryan here. Do we have anything that we need to know about regarding Bright Beginnings or Head Start? I'm just getting started, I know.
For the non-compliance? Oh. Wow, I didn't know I was going to speak. So the great news, and I'm new to the Head Start world, but the team was extremely ecstatic that we had a clean review. So that bodes well for us in the future. And it took a lot of work. That's my understanding. So I appreciate the work that took place before I got here.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry to put you on the spot there. Special education, Mr. Hires?
The contract was ratified by the teachers.
We're in the budgeting process also. We'll have a meeting probably next week, and I'll have more to report
Okay.
at that time.
Legislative, nothing. Capital outlay, nothing. Calendar committee, nothing. Kansas Heritage Center, nothing. And Ryan's to review bills for September meeting.
I'll call.
Announcements, Wednesday, the 15th is first day of classes. Monday, August 27th will be our noon meeting at Miller. Wednesday, September 5th, new teacher cohort support from 4 to 5:30 at Guyman Petro. As far as items for future board meetings, I would like to see, not necessarily near future, but maybe October or something, perhaps another work session to discuss the budget in regards to our last work session of building and facilities, how we're going to pay for that, how we're going to come up with meeting the needs of our students. Does anybody else have anything else they'd like to?
I would like to know what your preference is on those work sessions, the 5 o'clock in the evening. Is that?
My preference would be a weekday, 5 o'clock.
Mine too.
Okay. I appreciate knowing that, and we'll work on that and plan on that. Sometime October, you think, might be a good time. That might settle down everything that's going on. So
Yeah.
good.
Does that work? Okay. All right. If there's nothing else, executive session.
Okay, because of late addition to the personnel report, which you do have a copy of, there is no need for an executive session tonight unless the board so chooses.
Okay. And
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
motion by Tammy.